Do you know how to not get scammed when buying your health insurance? Well, hey, that's what we're doing today, so stick around. How's it going, everybody? I'm Joey Giangola with Giangola Insurance, and today we're talking about your health insurance and what is real and what is not. And if you walk away from buying a health insurance policy and you're not quite sure what you just bought, chances are you might want to take another look. So real quick, I've been selling health insurance for over 7 years, and that has covered a time period between pre and post Obamacare insurance. And the one thing that has remained constant throughout the entire time is these fly-by-night indemnity policies that people try and pawn off on you as full-on legitimate health insurance. It's kind of sad because I've really lost count of the number of people who I've had to actually tell that they don't have like a real credible coverage policy that follows the mandates of the new Affordable Care Act law. This, as you would imagine, would come as a little bit of a surprise. So because I don't want to have to keep telling you that, and hopefully I can avoid it from even happening in the first place, that's our main goal today. So the first thing that you need to look out for is somebody telling you that they have a zero deductible plan. This is definitely the biggest red flag that you can spot, and probably the first one your would-be salesman will raise. $0 deductibles were almost impossible to come by in a pre-Obamacare world. And really, to be honest with you, only exist as an urban legend since 2014. They don't exist anymore. Technically, the reason that they can say you have a $0 deductible is because the plan doesn't have a deductible at all. Instead, it just pays set dollar amounts for specific services if you happen to need them. And to be honest, it is one of the most dangerously misleading things an insurance agent can present to you. If you had this $0 deductible plan and needed to be admitted to the hospital, you're probably in a little bit of trouble. This indemnity plan is only going to pay a set dollar amount, like $500 or $1,000 per day that you're in the hospital. It doesn't matter if you ran up a total bill of $8,000. If you're only there for 3 days, that only means you're going to get maybe $1,000 or $2,000 for that total visit. Simple math means that $6,000 or $7,000 of that is your responsibility. The craziest part is that's probably one of the mildest examples I could give to you about that scenario. If you found yourself under the knife for a more serious operation like open heart surgery or like serious cancer treatment, you probably would not even be able to believe the final bill. The next thing that you want to look out for is if somebody tells you that you can apply for this plan at any time. One of the fun treats Obamacare created was a health insurance buying season, or which is more technically known as open enrollment. This happens to be the only time of the year that you can actually purchase or make changes to your health insurance policy. And traditionally it lasts for about 3 months and has for the last couple years started on November 1st and run through January 31st of the following year. And if you didn't notice, it slammed right in the middle of the busiest holiday season of the year. Fantastic. If you are looking to buy health insurance outside of this time period without a special enrollment, then you're gonna have to wait until next year. And again, these questionable indemnity plans can be sold any time of the year because, like I said, they are not credible coverage as defined by the law. I'm not saying this is 100%, but if you filled something out online and your phone won't stop ringing, chances are you're on your way to buying something that isn't going to be great for you. During your moment of desperation, you might have filled out a couple forms online that promised you were going to get a free quote if you completed the information. And then, possibly within a matter of seconds, your phone started ringing, and it probably hasn't stopped since. What happened was that form was part of a lead provider service who takes your information and sells it to 7 or 8 agents at once. You're welcome. And then they do it over and over and over again. You're welcome again. I know this because that's how I got started back in 2009. If you want to see the darkest places of humanity, be the 8th or 9th health insurance agent to call somebody within a matter of 2 minutes. It's not pretty. Your phone number is that agent's only plan on how to sell you that policy. They can't create spiffy videos like this one. So they're going to keep calling until they can't call anymore. The sad part is that if or when they do get you on the phone, they are probably willing to blur a bunch of lines to try and close that sale. And next, my personal favorite, you have to buy something before the end of the phone call or you're no longer magically allowed to buy health insurance ever again. As if one human being could hold such power. Again, this is one of my favorite lines that I have had people tell me. And it is a borderline illegal thing to do. Like we established earlier, the only timelines that you have set upon you when buying health insurance is when open enrollment starts, when it ends, when your qualifying event starts and ends, usually 60 days. You're going to have defined periods of time to purchase things, never in which are involved, ever, please let me repeat, ever involved in a 5 to 10 minute phone conversation. There are no deals, incentives, or time-sensitive anything when buying health insurance, outside of what I just said. The price is the price no matter who you talk to, period. It's kind of the law. So what about those Christian peer-to-peer plans you've heard maybe one or two people mention at a party? Well, this one's a little trickier, and calling it a scam is a bit of a stretch, but I feel it leaves you in a pretty dangerous spot if something bad happens, so I think it deserves to be on the list. Basically, these plans rely on a bunch of people who want to get together and play health insurance company, and hope that they have collected enough money from everyone to pay for stuff when things go wrong. They operate outside of industry regulations, which is a little scary, and don't have to meet any solvency requirements other insurance companies do. Solvency is just a fancy word of saying having enough money guaranteed on hand to make sure that they get to pay for the things that happen when you're sick. So like basically insurance, right? Kind of. Even those fly-by-night indemnity companies that I was slamming earlier, they're backed by those same solvency and federal regulations. So even from that standpoint, you're kind of better off there. Because the biggest problem is you want to make sure that money's there to pay for the thing that you need it to be paid for. That's why you bought it in the first place. I mean, can you imagine getting handed an IOU from your health insurance company? Probably not going to work out well for you. Of course, if nothing happens, then you'll probably think that's the best deal you've ever encountered in your entire life. But if something does and there's no money to pay for that operation, well then it's probably coming out of your pocket. Well, here's a better but not great option for you. If you do need to buy some type of health insurance off cycle from open enrollment, the one plan that you would probably want to look to first is going to be called a short-term policy. These look and smell a lot more like a real health insurance policy than any of the things that we've talked about before, because they have what's called an out-of-pocket limit, or maximum. Basically, meaning when you stop paying. That's the most important thing. That's the easiest way for you to identify if something is real health insurance or not, kind of. And again, at the end of the day, that's your health insurance company's primary job, of getting to a point that allows you to stop paying and for them to pick up the rest of the covered services. A short-term plan, though, is still not considered credible coverage, however. And like an indemnity plan, you would also be subject to paying the individual tax penalty at the end of the year for not having health insurance. So what's the bottom line? Well, at the end of the day, you should always know exactly what you're buying when it comes to your health insurance policy. If you're ever unsure of a policy someone is trying to sell you, there's really 3 questions that you can ask them to kind of put it through its test. 1, how much is the deductible? Remember, 0 deductibles aren't a thing anymore. 2, when do you stop paying, or your out-of-pocket maximum? 3, when can you buy the plan? If you get the right answers to all 3 of those questions, then there's a pretty good chance you're on the right track. So what's the next step? If you want to make sure that you are not getting scammed on your health insurance and you want to learn what some of the right choices are for you, well, go ahead and click right here on my face to do that, and I will help you get started with that right now. You can do that, or there is a link below in the video's description. Of course, as always, I do want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. It does mean a lot to me. And I'm Joey Giangola with Giangola Insurance. Take it easy, everybody.